Well, welcome in. Halftime program spectacular, as the title says. He's Ravi. I'm Josh. Oklahoma 35, Nebraska 7. Ravi, where do we begin, man? Like, there are two stories, in my opinion, for the first half. You got the offensive line. You have the defense. Where do you want to start this thing?
I think I'm going to start on the line because what they have? They have 6 sacks in the first half. Is
Oh
that the
boy,
number? It's
I
close. It's. I
forgot to
mean, they had
open my
three in the
box
first.
score.
They had three in the first quarter. There's
Yeah.
at least two more, I think, in the second quarter that I can remember off the top of my head. So you're looking at 5 or 6 sacks and a half. It's impossible to get your offense going in that situation,
Yeah.
right? Like there's just nothing you can do.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, this one doesn't show up for some reason. Yeah, Nebraska, Ravi, finishes with a 148 total yards, 108 yards through the air. They had what, 70 some odd yards on the first drive
Yep.
of the game. They went right down the field, and man, this is just one of those games, and I think it's kind of a preview of maybe what's to come. Perhaps not to this level, but it's a reminder that Nebraska, even as bad as they've looked over the last 2 weeks, the competition was not Power 5 competition, right? Like they're playing.
Yeah.
Look, they're playing a really good team. I think I picked Oklahoma to make the playoff before the year. They got off to a kind of a sluggish start in their first 2 weeks, but here they are. They're on their way to a 3-0 start, and they look great right now. But like I don't know. In the hindsight, I'm kind of kicking myself for not talking about that more this week on sportsmanlike conduct. This team is now going to have a step up in competition, and it really showed in the first half. And as Joel says, the worst O-line play I've ever seen at the Power 5 level. They are horrific.
They're
right
really
now.
bad, and
They
they
are
have no
horrific.
options. They have no one else to go to. Is the worst part is they just don't even. It's not like you can just like go down the line and be like, oh well, let's try this guy and let's try this guy. There's no one. There's no one there
Yeah.
to play on the offensive line. It's horrifying how bad it is.
Dude, I'm worried for Casey Thompson, and I'm
You
worried
are.
for whomever plays quarterback the rest of the year.
I mean, honestly, you almost have to go either. You almost have to go Smothers just so he can run for
Run.
his life,
Yeah, I was thinking the same
or
thing.
you have to do like that super you have to totally scheme around the offensive line being inept, which is like, hey, like 2 or 3 step drops and get rid of the ball immediately, like one read and go. Otherwise, Casey Thompson's going to get killed. They're not going to get anything
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been so bad. And listen, I get the Oklahoma defense is pretty good and they're a lot better than they have been in the last few years, but
Very aggressive.
can you imagine what this? I mean, it's only gonna. This is good. This is the rest of the season. You're gonna have good defensive lines against at least half your competition,
Yeah.
and you're just going to have Casey Thompson. Or I mean, Casey Thompson's not getting through this season healthy if this continues.
No, he's not. He's not.
I mean, I just that's, and I've talked about this with you guys on Sportsmanlike Conduct. I kept talking about the offensive line being my biggest concern, despite how bad the defense looks. And like, listen, I get the defense is horrific, and
Yeah, it's a
that's
tire fire.
whatever.
Yeah.
But the offensive line makes it so impossible to even get anything going. I mean, we had the first drive, like they seemingly always do at Nebraska. The first drive looks great,
Yeah,
and
it
then
really
everything
does.
falls apart after that.
Yeah.
The entire offensive game plan moving forward has to just be scheming around the fact that they can't block anyone.
Yeah. Brian tweets in, I'm so glad we covered this team year round and wait so long for the season to come. Yeah, look, man, like I don't know about you, Ravi. I'm watching this game and I'm just thinking, good Lord, it's September 17th. And again, like I don't know. I think they'll win another game, right? Like, I mean, 1-11 is certainly on the table.
I don't know.
Indiana sucks.
I know, but like,
yeah,
so does Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's not like, I mean, is Indiana worse than Georgia Southern?
Yeah, you hope so, right?
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we're at the point now where the bottom of the Big Ten is probably better than a team they lost to last week.
Well, let me look it up real fast because last time I saw Northwestern was tied. Yeah, they're tied with Southern Illinois at the half right now. Yeah, so like that.
Nebraska lost to that team.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, like, look, I'm not going to proclaim that they're going to win like 4 or 5 games. I'm certainly not going to do that. You just I guess here's what we're hoping for. I know this
I think you've got 3 opportunities for wins on the table unless something crazy happens, and it's Indiana, Rutgers, and Illinois, and that's it.
Yeah, and I know that I know that we're trying to like figure out the big picture stuff, and this is turning into a not really a halftime show. But that I don't know, man. That's how I'm watching this game. It's not even thinking about this week, and I'm thinking
No.
about things like Joel says, legitimate concern. How are we as fans going to make it through the rest of the season? Man, wow. And then, I mean, right away, Ryan, Joel, I'm going to find a new hobby and just be a fair weather fan. I mean, look, I think a lot of people are going to just check out during the week. I think it's going to be and look,
Thank God for basketball.
yeah, they might even check out. They might even check out when the games arrive. You know, like
Yeah.
if I had my druthers, I don't know if I'd really want to watch the second half. I don't think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Here, I do want to talk about the defense because we spent the first few minutes on the offensive line. 355 yards, 18 first downs, 190 through the air, 165 rushing for Oklahoma. They averaged 7.2 yards per carry, 9 yards per pass. And here's the crazy thing, Ravi. Dylan Gabriel only went 12 of 21. Like, he didn't even look that good.
They weren't super sharp. He missed a couple surefire touchdowns.
Yep.
I mean,
and other completions too.
Yeah, there was one, I think, on a post that I think Joel Klatt or somebody said, if he throws that on the money, the guy hits his head on the goalpost. Like, that's like he's just running free forever. And he missed a couple of those. Yeah. I mean, like, as bad as it is, it could have been worse in the first half here. The defense is really bad. I knew they would take a step back in terms of some of their ability to bend and not break, but they bend and then they break and then they shatter. Like, I just don't know, I don't even know what you do at this point, except maybe you just bring a ton of pressure and take a ton of risks because listen, you're giving up the home run plays anyway. You might as well take the risks that you might get a turnover or a sack or something. You know what I mean? Just you have to start getting creative because otherwise this is the rest of your season is 35-7 and things like that, where at least if you try and cause some havoc on defense, yes, you're going to give up big plays, but that ship has already sailed. You're giving up big plays when you're not trying to take risks. You might as well open yourself up for some rewards. I mean, how much worse can it actually get,
Well, sadly, I think pretty worse. Let's see a couple comments. Andre says, "Take Hill out." Yeah, I don't know if you saw it too, Robbie. They showed him and Mickey on the sidelines, and they were having quite the heated discussion, and then randomly they cut away and showed a referee or something. I'm like, come on now, I want to see what's going on. David, any bye week predictions, changes, etc. Look, I said it on the show this week. I thought that if the defense had a really bad game, and at the time, Robbie, my definition of really bad game was like giving up 40 plus points. They almost did it in the first half. I thought that Chenander, this might be his last game. I certainly am leaving the first half feeling like this is going to be Chenander's first game. And I've seen a lot of people say, what's that really going to do? What's that really going to do? It's a fair question, but I think kind of like with Scott Frost and what Trev did last week, I think that it's a move that you make because you're like, look, we cannot stand for this type of performance. So will it result in anything better if like suddenly Bill Bush is calling defensive plays? I'm not going to say that, but I think that at this point, you're just trying to get through the season without maybe an embarrassment on that side of the ball every single week.
Well, also there's kind of the awkwardness of Chenander's the last like big Frost guy left on staff. Seemingly. They were, allegedly really close, and obviously they have the history together of how long they've coached together. So you wonder if it's just like, hey, because there are still 8 games left, you want to give it as much of a fresh look as possible, and that's on both sides of the ball. And it's not like Chenander setting the world on fire this year and keeping himself in his job because of how well they're playing. It makes it really easy to just kind of move on and try and start as fresh as possible with Mickey over the bye week.
Joel says Fisher's position group has not been stellar. Man, you want to talk about disappointments this year, Ravi? The defensive backs, like that's been one of the constants. At least I thought like that was somewhat solid over the last few years, and they've got
some guys that should be okay.
Yeah,
like they've got enough talent back there, or what appears to be talent, or they were hyped at one point in terms of recruits and whatever, that you should have a functional group back there, and they're just not, and so because I mean that's the daily double on defense, right? If you can't cover and you can't get pressure, you're going to give up a hell of a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Nebraska, they can't get any pressure on the quarterback to make him force into bad decisions, and they can't cover anybody to give the defensive line any time to get there. So what's left for them to do except for give up a million points, which is
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's really bad. It's in really bad
Hor-
shape. And you're right. I don't know that firing Shenander fixes anything, but keeping him doesn't fix anything either. So why
No,
not?
no,
You know?
it doesn't. Joe in Phoenix says, "How empty will the stadium be by the start of the fourth quarter?" Joe, it's funny because I have the game on here in my office, and I looked over, and you know, in the background behind the set that's on the field, you can see empty seats. Obviously, as people are doing halftime stuff, and I was thinking, not so much even about today, but again, as I look forward, like, what's this place going to look like? You know, I mean, the home schedule this year, you got Indiana coming in, you got
In 2
Illinois
weeks, yeah.
coming in. You got Minnesota coming in, and you have Wisconsin. I mean, like outside of, I mean, I guess Minnesota and Wisconsin are pretty hated teams, and you know, maybe that'll get some ire from the fans, but it's not like this kick-ass home schedule where you're even like, oh, cool, I'll get to watch, you know,
Yeah,
Michigan,
Michigan
a playoff, you
State
know,
or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
exactly,
you really don't get anybody.
yeah,
There's really no marquee matchups on the schedule this year, especially considering how bad Nebraska is. You know, I'm not even if Ohio State was coming to town, I'm not sure I'd want to be a part of that.
mm-hmm.
You know, but it's I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be a really weird next couple months because
Yeah.
I have no inclination that this is gonna get any better.
I don't know why we would think. Why
And,
I don't know how it does. That's the question.
and
How would it?
that's the thing, because you can't change the players at this point. Like the guys are who they are,
Yeah.
and they're not very good, especially in some really key spots. That's not to say there's not some good players on this team, but they're really bad up front on both sides of the ball, and they're really bad on the back half of the defense. And that pretty much submarines any chance you have of being a competitive football team. So
Mm-hmm.
none of that I don't think is going to change. Like I don't, you don't have new linemen crawling out of the woodwork to
No.
come save the day. You don't even have like a Teddy P to throw in there the way they tried to last year. Like there's really nothing to indicate that this is going to get better. And so what does the next 2 months look like? You
Yeah.
know, like I have no idea what that turns into.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, not to look too far ahead, but I mean, one of the conversations I know this week in the Husker sphere was like this excitement about Mickey, and hey, maybe he could be someone that's up for the job. Like I mean, if they're performing like this, like that definitely ain't gonna happen.
No,
Like
they would have
that
to,
ain't gonna
I think,
happen.
make a bowl game for that to even be a possibility.
Yeah,
You know, after a 1-2 start, they'd have to go, well, 1-3 after today, they'd have to go 5-3 down the stretch for Mickey to have a shot at the job, I think,
yeah,
full time. And
yeah,
and listen, I am a big fan of Mickey. I hope that the next coach keeps him, but I don't think there's any chance that Trev hires a guy without head coaching experience. I just don't think that's on the table,
yeah.
even if it's Mickey. And so I hope the next guy keeps him, but I don't know if there's really anything he can do short of winning out after today to keep the job.
People are predicting the score in the comment section for the final score. Peter says 70-10. Lion says 63-13. Joe 63-7. Oh boy.
I
Oh
mean,
boy.
your only hope is that they pick their foot up off the gas, right?
Yeah.
You know, like if they want to score 70 today, they can. But the only hope is that they decide not to,
Yeah.
or they start putting in subs or whatever, you know, and kind of take the foot off the pedal. But yeah, I mean, it's a pick your score game for Oklahoma, and
Yeah.
Nebraska hasn't had one of those in a while, which is embarrassing to be kind of watching them go through this process. It does. I mean, I know we've talked about before how the unifying of the fan base and stuff behind firing Frost was an important part of keeping him on for the extra year. But as I'm watching this, I'm just like, God, why could we have just gotten rid of him last year? Like
Yeah.
this feels like such a waste of
Yeah.
everybody's time and energy and money and just everything. It feels like such a waste.
Yeah, Jack Mitchell and I talked about that this morning, and the thing that I guess I am maybe telling myself, and perhaps it's just trying to find some of the positivity.
Positive boy.
It's positive voice. It's that by the time the change was made, at least people agreed. So like
That's
that.
the only positive.
It's the
But
only.
doesn't
It's
this?
the
I
only.
mean, this feels so bad.
Yeah.
This feels so crappy, and it's just. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong.
Otherwise, I agree with you though, man.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they figure out something culturally that they're able to scrape together a few wins this year.
Mm-hmm.
But if you told me that we're sitting here at the end of November and this is a 1-11 football team, I'd be like, "Yep, that's what they looked like in September. They
Yeah.
looked like a 1-11 football team." And so this is yeah, it's tough. This isn't super fun to watch, and it's really frustrating because there's no answers. There's no good answers.
No, I mean we're already in the hey. Hopefully, 2023 is better. So like that's not a place you want to be in at any
That's
point
the
during a
part
football
that sucks.
season.
That's the
Yeah,
part that's so frustrating about not getting rid of Frost last
yeah.
year,
But you're
is
doing it.
that we got 3 football games and the season was over.
You're doing this in September. Just a tweet from our dear friend Stumanji. Through 4 games, Nebraska's 2017 defense allowed 1,493 yards, 11 touchdowns, 4.0 yards per rush. Through 3.5 games, Nebraska's 2022 defense has allowed 1,831 yards. So quick math says about 340 more, 17 touchdowns, which is 6 more, and 5.9 yards per rush, which is basically 2 yards more
50% more.
for every carry. Yeah, man.
And we still have a half of football to go.
And still have a half of football to go.
It's there's no words. I did see in the chat here somebody said Scott Frost was sent to sabotage the program. It did cross my mind with how much he talked about like getting benched and booed as a player here. I was like, it would be the most petty thing ever to come here and just suck.
Yeah.
And
well, he did.
I don't think that's what happened. I don't think he did it on purpose, but it is fun to think
That's
about.
good.
That's
good that you don't think he
I'm
did it
almost
on purpose.
positive that he did not purposely sabotage
the positive boys. The almost positive boys. Tom says, what time did that guy start drinking? I don't know what that is about, but okay. Never mind. I see what it was about. Yeah. So, and then a lot of urban comments. So that's where we're at with the discussion. Man, you know what? I'm really happy I'm not on overreaction today. So I've seen a few people ask that. That is John Bishop. That is Connor Happer. They'll be on immediately following the game on 1620 The Zone, 1019 The Keg. Also, of course, you can watch the stream at 1620thezone.com. They'll have the video up. In I guess a final serious question for you, Ravi. Like, what in the world is overreaction going to be like the rest of the year? I am very curious to see because, like, what do you do? Like, how do you get mad about like? I don't know. I mean, you can be mad.
That is total trash.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they already made the big change, so like you can't even get mad like fire Frost. Like they already did.
I think it's just going to be 2 hours every Saturday of like, well, who do we think we can get? And honestly, what I've been doing is I'm watching games of other coaches that I think have a that I
scouting.
I watched like Kansas State last week or I've got the Cincinnati game on right now. They're struggling with Miami, Ohio a little bit right now.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, what coaches do I like? I'm just putting that on the TV, and I think honestly that might be Big Red overreaction. Might be the reaction to the coaches who we think have a shot at this job. You might just be reacting to other teams' games at this point, like, hey, what Iowa State do this week? How'd they look? I don't know, man. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be super weird. The rest of the season is gonna be really bizarre, and I don't even know what to do with it. I will say, on a somewhat unrelated note, I really like Jeff Lebby, the offensive coordinator for Oklahoma.
Yeah,
I liked him before. He was at Ole Miss, right?
Yeah.
Really liked him. He was with Kiffin.
Oh.
I think he's really good at what he does. So just for the record,
just
Jeff Lebby fan, his stuff.
There you go. One more thing before we say goodbye. Northwestern now trails 17-14
to Southern Illinois.
There you go. All right, he's Ravi Lula. I'm Josh Peterson. We appreciate all of you for joining us for this. This might be the saddest halftime show we've ever done.
This is pretty depressing. I'm going to be honest. I don't feel good about it.
Yeah. Well, people forget they've had a lot of close losses, so they've usually been that way. So we do appreciate you all joining us. As I mentioned, John and Hap will be on Overreaction after the game, 1620 The Zone.
God bless them.
Yeah, 1019 The K, hashtag Still AM Radio. And then we'll be back 6 a to 6 p.m. Monday, and Severe Reaction tomorrow morning as well. So plenty of places to have some takes on the Huskers. Ravi, I would say enjoy the second half, but I know you won't do that. So
seems
bye.
Unlikely.
Yeah. See you later. All right, everybody, have a good one.